In this video, I want to talk about a recent video where I criticized Mikhaila Peterson, and what I say is her extreme reaction to her father, Jordan Peterson, being in trouble with the psychologist board because there were complaints about his Twitter posts. And I did a follow-up video about him that got the same reaction from Jordan fans. Jordan Peterson is that carnivore psychologist, maybe the most famous psychologist on the planet. He said some things that Carboraider had a big problem with, and also a whole bunch of Jordan's fans posted comments, very negative. I want to add my comments. Also, this video contained a bit about Frank Tufano and his balloon gate. I'll cover that too. Some really good stuff in this video and some suspect stuff. So in general, the video was really good, well made. They're good in many ways. Carboraider was really on fire with this video. He did not hold back. To get everyone up to speed, here's how the video started. Well, here's his daughter, Mikhaila Peterson, who is also famous for a bad reason, and her reaction to these hearings, and it sounds very right-wing.
Is threatening to take my dad's psychology license because he's been criticized.
Threat is a politicized word here.
The College of Psychologists, a bunch of people put in power by the government.
We put the government in power to form committees like this. It's called democracy, and apparently some of these people don't like democracy. What's the reason she gives? Listen to this bull crap.
Dad's psychology license because he's been criticizing the government. This isn't
wrong. This is a joke. These clownivores are jokes.
This isn't a joke.
You know Jordan Peterson, I hope. This guy's way out there.
Do you believe in God?
What do you mean, do?
This has been torturing my family.
See, there's another hyperbolic word. She likes to use that. Horrible, horrible.
Seriously bullying my dad in a way.
No, there's another word that does not fit here. You see this way too much in the diet circles. Darren Ryder and Freely are bullying. Yet they're still not in prison.
They caused everyone in my family a lot of stress. I think it's
stress over what? I'm seeing more and more why this video bothered so many Jordan Peterson followers. I think it's that right-wingers don't like to be called right-wingers. They don't like the way they are easily marginalized by their political association, yet they do it all the time to the left. And it's not just this latest license thing that makes them sound right-wing. She's always doing interviews talking about political issues. And it's issues where there's a big divide. That's where she jumps in because she knows Jordan's audience too. They share the same audience, like they shared the same last name.
Keep things equitable in terms of outcome even, and you are calling on them to deliver what they can, and you provide to them what they need. And then...
Wait, what? I mean, no, he's not wrong. Guys, don't jump to immediately say Jordan Peterson is bad. He is bad. What he's describing is not wrong. I'm sure he will f this up somehow.
Just yesterday, I heard somebody say that he is a classical British liberal. And then just this morning, I looked him up. He calls himself that. I don't know what liberal means in British. But these days, he is singing all of the right-wing talking points. Well, not all. But every one he sings is on the right. That's his audience. He's a millionaire. He's getting rich off of what he is doing here. And while we have this picture up, I'd like to point out that I'm only 6 years younger than him, and my facial hair makes me look older. I'll be shaving sometime when I get to it. Then we'll see if my facial hair is covering that kind of skin. I think that the dispute that I'm having with Jordan's fans all comes down to, am I right that the psychology board should be coming down on him, or at least looking into the complaints? Or are Jordan's fans right that this is government overreach and just going after the political enemies type of thing? And that Jordan Peterson, being a psychologist, would not overreact to something that was just normal on-the-level stuff. You know, the stuff that happens in life. After all, he is a psychologist. He's a self-help guru whose job it is to help other people deal with things that happen in life. Well, I think you would be surprised by the answer these next clips suggest.
It's like, pick up your damn suffering and bear it Our family doctor put Dad on antidepressants and an anti-anxiety medication so Dad could tolerate the stress.
Get yourself together, for Christ's sake, so that when your father dies, you're not whining away in a corner, and you can help plan the funeral, and you can stand up solidly so that people can rely on you.
The stress, which would have been even harder on him than it was on us.
Don't be a damn victim.
It's a rough pleasure, but if you knew what happened to me, it was...
Stand up solidly so that people can rely on you. Don't be a damn victim. You're a pathetic weasel.
But what I've learned after needing self-help a lot and listening to a lot of self-help gurus is that the people who get good at self-help are the people who most needed it. I've become a self-help guru now. I understand the area. So it's actually not surprising that Jordan, being a psychologist, would be a really sensitive person who has issues like overreaction, victim mentality here. Here's something where I had too much to cover. I was trying to keep the video shorter, so I didn't express myself completely. Sounded too one-sided.
Because he's been criticizing the government. This isn't
Wrong. This is a joke. These clownivores. And plus, it pisses me off to hear people talk like that. She's making a claim. And it's a claim that's based on what's going to help her and her father. Not what the evidence points to. Jordan's been criticizing the government 6 years publicly, but the government didn't come after him back then. It's happening now. And it's not that they're going after him. They're responding to complaints that came in. And they can't ignore complaints. That's their job. It's to regulate the licensees. There's nothing wrong going on. This is the system we voted for. And that, Mikhaila, is called democracy. Carnivores, right-wingers, they're all bullshitters. That's true. All nuts. That's mostly true. Yeah, I was overgeneralizing because I wanted to hurry. I was in a hurry and I was emotionally disturbed. You know Jordan Peterson, I hope. He is a certified nut. He's more nutty than most people I've seen. Now see this part right here. While this is true that he's a nut, I'd like to say to Jordan's fans that he doesn't always come across as a nut. Maybe not even most of the time. I was telling someone in the comments. I actually agree with a lot of Jordan's positions, just not with diet. I'm critical of the left when it comes to a lot of gender issues. And I told this to a person in the comments, and that person said, "You're not fooling anybody." You can look at my video history. You can look at my Twitter, 1,000 posts on Twitter. The person didn't believe me. Because I came across so one-sided in this video, I guess. Yet there's still not. Did you watch till the end? One of my haters did. I was surprised that he saw that picture of Jordan, which means he watched haters watching the whole. Actually, it was my more recent video, 27 minutes. Let me show you what I'm eating today. I had some oranges, 2 oranges earlier. Now I'm having lunch. Potatoes. Yams, lettuce, oats. I got some raw yam here. So after all the editing I did, when I go through the editing, I spend so many hours with it, I realized stuff that I did not realize before. 2 things I realized is that I came across really harsh in the video. My guess is that I was just reflecting the attitude I was hearing from Jordan and Mikhaila. I was just reflecting that back. So to all you critiquers there who support Jordan, I was being just like they are. He said I sounded scary. Well, they sound scary to me. They're helping to create this unnecessary divide that's happening in the U.S. and spread to Canada. The truckers actually drove up there, spread it. It's really dangerous. The other thing that I realized going through the editing was listening to Jordan so much that I realized he's crazier than I ever thought. And again, he doesn't always come off as crazy, which is really weird. But I noticed, I've learned this way back, that people have a false view of what crazy would look like. Crazy people come off as normal. You don't notice until you get to know them. But before his problem with addiction, the virus, going to hospitals, before then he's mostly sounded like he was not crazy. and sensible is when he is criticizing feminism. He does a good job of winning those debates, debunking the talking points. But then, debunking today's feminism is really easy. And I do that. I've done that many times. One thing I would change here, more people into being gremlins on our society. They should be stopped. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. And when I say they should be stopped, I don't mean by breaking into their houses and beating them, say with a hammer, or just shooting them while they're in the front yard. All these things are real-life examples of the things their side has done. I mean, use the existing laws that we voted for. We mostly agree. They agree with these laws until they break them and laws are used against them. But anyway, here's the thing I would have changed.
To control particularly conservative working professionals.
This is a bullshit right-wing talking point that's been used heavily in the last year. And just a few days ago in the congressional hearing, this was majorly debunked. We were showed visual proof that it was the conservatives that were controlling places like Twitter. That last sentence was being too general right there. And well, more than general, I was talking like an anti-vegan there. I would reword that now, because I made it sound like I believe that it was all one-sided. I believe that, well, no one has complete control over Twitter, but I do believe that both sides try to get control and have some control. And I was just saying the evidence we've seen is of right-wingers trying to control the narrative and get people suspended for saying stuff. Oh my God, I think it was a couple days ago, I heard some news that the governor of Florida, I think it was a law. They passed a law. This is amazing. By the way, the guy's a Republican, of course. This is so relevant to this. He passed a law that anybody who is writing blogs, or maybe it even applies to tweets, anything you say criticizing him, Governor DeSantis of Florida, you have to register, kind of like getting a license. And so he knows who you are, and more to the point, they'll be able to look you up to see where your funding is coming from. So they can control who says what if they've got evidence that you're being just paid to say that. And so we can censor that, right? Because that's the whole idea. What do you think about that, Jordan supporters? Who can be behind that? They're doing exactly what they say the left is doing.
Think you can trust your doctor to talk to you about anything?
He hasn't even been removed. If we did things like the Donald wants to, this guy would have just been taken off the streets and made to go swimming with a rock, and she would have been stopped. Right there is something that was a mistake I made. I misspoke, and I'm wondering if people even got what I was referring to. Some people may not even heard what I said because it sounds like a rock. A rock. Well, I just had so much to get in this video. I didn't think that I used the wrong word. Instead of rock, I meant brick. It's been a while since I heard that song. And for those who did understand what I was getting at, maybe that's why someone in the comments said I was bold in this video. But it's not me who's suggesting that. No. You get in trouble for that unless you're a former president who was the one who would say it here and there. Except it wasn't a rock or a brick. It was bing. Put out this dangerous information. He still has his license, which means the system is overly fair. I still agree with that right there. And nobody in the comments could refute me on this. This guy's still has his license, still able to say crazy stuff. Actually, he got suspended from Twitter. Me too. And that's not the government. But right-wingers will claim it is. That's how they roll. If you're right, why don't you stick with facts and things we have proof about? They have too much freedom.
He's getting investigated because of tweets.
I'm sure some people will be bothered by that line. Too much freedom. And the idea that anyone has too much free speech is horrifying. Those are the words of tyrants and the Constitution. I wrote back to this person, and look what happens. One comment. I was referring to the obvious far-right ones. Donald tried to remove This slut's tweet, I made a video about her once. So ridiculous. She's the one who went vegan for a day. I can't even say the rest. So stupid. But you can't just go around demanding she be removed from Twitter. See, Donald tried to remove her tweet about him. Also, Twitter let him get away with many rule violations. I lived through this for years. I was on Twitter almost every day seeing him violate the rules for years. And we kept calling for Twitter to do something, and they didn't do anything until January 7. It's only for their own protection. Agreeing with a previous poster there, these social media companies only do something when it's to protect themselves. Words of a tyrant. No, they're words of Americans. Free speech under the First Amendment has limitations. And we all learned this in elementary school. And we never had a problem with this until it became a political thing with the fake election fraud starts the steal by claiming it's stolen is a perfect cover. And now suddenly people think that the First Amendment shouldn't have any limitations because they want to say crazy shit. And once again, your long post did not even try refuting anything I've said in the video. 17-minute video. You didn't even try to refute anything. I've been noticing this with my opposers. Why can't you put up an argument or debunk anything I say? And look, no response. Again, there's this myth that freedom means total freedom. When, no, it doesn't. No one has total freedom. There's always limitations. Your freedom ends where others begin. That's an old saying that I never hear anymore also. There has to be a balance of freedoms.
It's demonic or it's otherwise offensive, and purposefully so. People sitting in their basement at home dwelling on their misery and doing everything they can to spew toxicity out into the world. Alone in their bedrooms, they're just isolated people who aren't causing any trouble. But as soon as they multiply themselves millions of times using this incredible, powerful computer technology,
I'm sorry that I called them pathetic weasels, forgetting that 150,000 people will listen to it.
Yeah, in that edited clip there of Jordan, it sounded like he was talking about himself. But was that my editing or his projection? And also I think it's a deflection. I think here he is putting the spotlight on other people to take the focus off of himself for the behavior that he's doing. And I want to show you what he said just after this, because it fits into this video, and this video really is about how much freedom we should have. I say there needs to be restrictions, as most people agree, but then you got these fans of Jordan Peterson who, when the circumstances change, they want total freedom. They don't want to be subject to the laws that they would require for others. So this whole Jordan Peterson group is really against all this woke policing, censorship, having regulations on people's freedoms. Well, everybody, check out this clip that I happened to stumble across just watching clips while I was eating. Listen to these words.
there's a variety of people who are very unconstrained in normal social discourse would be able to keep themselves under control because of the controls that are there in normal social discourse. You lift those controls and they just go off. And so that's what we're seeing online. And that has to be stopped. I think the large tech companies should be required to put in know your customer laws. They should ban anonymous accounts, but in this way. Imagine that you have a section for comments where it's real human beings that are verified, and you have another section underneath that's for anonymous troll demons. And if you want to go visit their hell and see what their resentful minds are spewing into the public landscape, then you can. Otherwise, you stick to the real human beings. And I don't know if Musk and the other people who are running the big social media networks understand the pathology that's associated with this online commentary well enough to control it. So we'll see.
What I would like to draw your attention.
So first he said constrict, then he said ban, but then he seemed to contradict himself by saying that we'd put them in just a separate section. He does that contradicting thing a lot. Maybe that helps generate arguments about him, but just having a different section for people who want to remain anonymous, they're more likely to have something to say that could put them in danger. And of course, less people are going to find that section, aren't they? Yeah, that will be made sure of by some people. And this is so much like what the governor of Florida is doing. Also reminds me of voter restriction laws, where certain groups of people will end up voting less than others. And that's the whole idea. And this sounds like how Jordan's idea would end up being used. It would more restrict the kind of people he wants to restrict. I've had a problem with these same people Jordan has a problem with for many years, except not exactly the same. Half of them. He sees one half, I see the other half. Oh, I sense an opportunity for some rush.
Half the world talks with half a mind on what they say.
I gotta keep it short in a video where I want to be monetized, because YouTube's getting even more restrictive with the music. I got one more line for you. I'm just talking here in the middle to divide it up.
Half the world walks with half a mind to run away.
That's the way I've been feeling lately. And I'm pretty sure this video got shared by someone with a big audience because a bunch of views came in overnight. And the comments too, all haters, all Jordan fans that is. One of those commenters said, I have no idea why your video was on my homepage as a recommendation. That's a weird thing to see. You never see comments like that. Oh, excuse me for getting some sharing. Sharing happens all over the place. Mostly how YouTube works. What you see is stuff that's been shared. But when someone shares my stuff, oh, it's just unacceptable. Why do you say that? No idea why. Something's got to be on your homepage. It's all things that were shared. Turns out the person is a Jordan Peterson viewer. So here you go. And YouTube knows that hate watching is really big. That's the main driver for why people watch a video. And hey, you watched it. Interesting that one of these people complained that my video appeared in their recommendations because the video's message is something he's against, right? Doesn't want to hear it. Maybe he never has. That's the impression I get a lot. That it's like with Eric Berg fans, as if they've never heard criticisms before, which means they've never looked for it. There you go. That tells you what you need to know about these low-carb people. When I say that the right is dangerous, I'm referring to the obvious far-right ones. I am left-leaning, and I've been suspended 7 times by Twitter. And if you check my account right now, you'll see that I'm banned for life. That happened 2 months ago, under Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I'm now on a new social media, Mastodon. I think that's the name of it. Here it is. Mastodon. And there's a link up in the corner of my homepage there. Someone actually said, I am in the Matrix. I've been using that metaphor for at least 6 years now. I have a book, 6 years old, called Escape the Diet Matrix, so it's very funny and a little irritating. There's someone saying I'm in the Matrix. Of course, it's going to be someone who's a nut. So I oversimplified and generalized right-wingers. But that's just like what Mikhaila was doing. Maybe even worse, she is flat out smearing without any proof of any facts. Kind of like when she says her diet will fix everyone's problems. So the people who were criticizing my videos about the Petersons' license, are they saying that they are not the kind of conservatives that I was talking about? If that's true, then why were they offended? And why aren't they with me in speaking out against this crazy talk?
They've been around since about the 60s, and it turns out, which I guess isn't that surprising, they've been infiltrated by the government, and now it looks like...
Whenever somebody says, turns out, at this point, that sets off a red flag for me. Oh, someone's about to lie. Reminds me of what I learned.
Turns out clonazepam is hell to get off of. So he stopped cold turkey in the summer after talking with a psychiatrist.
And it turns out, which I guess isn't that surprising, they've been infiltrated by the government.
She lied about her business, she lied about her knowledge and expertise in nutrition, she lied about helping people with this diet, and she made health and nutrition claims that she could not support with scientific evidence. And worst of all is, she was doing all of this, making up all of these lies, just to make money. I was wondering, why is she doing this? Why is she lying? And why is she discussing topics that she clearly knows nothing about? But then I remembered who her father is.
On to the second half of this video. That was just the first half. If you saw the whole video, you now know why I put this in. There's multiple reasons for certain clips in this video. And it's something I do often in my videos that some people aren't going to notice. My videos are like movies where if you watch repeated viewings, you're going to get more out of them. You can notice stuff. Remember early on where I called these carnivores balloon heads? It was all referring to news on the balloon.
There was some type of Chinese blimp.
A China balloon.
I mean, it's kind of silly.
While you do, and the people slowly die. I've seen 12 balloons today.
That was one of my favorite lines I made up there. I'm just getting more creative and better in my creativity all the time.
Why do they need to fly over a hot air balloon?
We now have balloon truthers? We have balloon truthers.
I'm sitting in this this EMF canopy, which is...
And some people, even if you saw this music video here, may not have understood the main message I'm trying to get at here as I was making fun of all of the news hype. The whole country is talking about balloons all of a sudden. So I had a lot of sarcastic commentary in here. And it's interesting that my lyrics were kind of vague, like a lot of lyrics, and they leave it to the viewer to try to understand or come up with your own meaning. And what was funny is after I was done with this, I thought, I reworked this whole song so much. And in the end, my version of it turned out to make just as little sense as the original song does. I've been listening to the song lately. That's how I got the idea. And I really like this song. But yeah, it's hard to make sense of it. And another thing that will help you understand the lyrics I was making up is that I was putting the word balloon into like almost every sentence I could. And I was doing that to represent the overdone hype that the United States was in. Balloon everywhere. And another one of my favorite lyrics, that again, it will help if you watch news, the line, "She sits on his porch." That whole sentence there, that was just great. It's so great that I ended up making a video just on this music video. Changed it up a little, made it a little longer, added some other stuff. I basically remastered the video, made my voice a little clearer. So it's really a good rendition. You should check this out, and you're going to want to share it. The whole world should be seeing this one. This video really deserved to go viral.